paranormal. It surrounds us. It's everywhere. Tonight, you will hear from the people who live and work within these highly active locations, all in the efforts to discover America's most haunted. With your host, ghost hunter and author, Dan Terry.
Good evening, boys and ghouls. I am Dan Terry, your ghost host with the most haunted. And I know we've been in a lot of places lately, but I'm bringing us back to North Carolina for this one. And just before I do want to remind you all, because you know how Race and I are, and my producer likes to talk about my never-ending shirt supply. Well, guess what? Well, there it is. I've got one on tonight from Lafitte's Blacksmith Shop. And any of y'all have been to the bar there in New Orleans, Lafitte's Blacksmith Shop, you know it is haunted by a pirate ghost. He was stealing from Lafitte, he was killed for it, and his soul was cursed to haunt that bar and protect the treasure that's allegedly buried there. He's been seen numerous times, and he likes to harass women. He likes to snap their bra straps or unhook their bras or plays games like that with them. So it's an interesting place to check out, and the drinks are awesome. All right, I'm bringing us back to North Carolina, and I'm going to introduce you to the founder of Nocturnal Nation. That's Danny Kelly, and he's got an interesting background in that something that happened to him as a child has opened him up to speaking with the spirits, to communicating. And like I said before, folks, that's a talent I'm glad I don't have, but we're going to hear his side of it. So let me introduce you to Danny Kelly.
Hey, what's up, Dan?
All right, bud. Sorry about that.
Not a
Tell
problem.
me, we were talking earlier, and these folks here who watch us know I was stationed on a ship right across from the North Carolina there in Wilmington, the battleship. Yep. I've been on it multiple times. I've interviewed several groups who's been on it, investigating it. But you've got your own story connected to that and your own kind of a link to that place.
Absolutely, man. One of my uncles fought on the battleship USS North Carolina and died on the ship. His name was Roscoe Kelly. I'm not sure what his rank was, but definitely he was on there. If you look in the register of the ones who fought and died on the ship, you'll see his name on there.
Was he killed during the, I think it was a torpedo or kamikaze attack one that one of them sacrificed himself and a few others to save the ship by locking it down?
That much, man, I'm not really sure about.
Okay.
By the time I figured it out, most of my other relatives on that side of the family had already passed away. So,
All right. And you also had an experience on the ship, right?
Oh yeah, man. Oh yeah. I went there. Let's see. I think it was in 2020 when I went.
Okay.
And I was on a group investigation, and I was in the officers' mess hall. You had to go through there to get to the restroom. And as I walked in, I saw a sailor in his blues. He was sitting at the table with his back toward me. I didn't think anything of it at first. I thought, well, this must be one of the guys who works here, who's kind of looking after things while we're doing our investigation.
Sure.
And as I walked closer toward it, there was a big column in the middle of the room. And by the time I got to the middle part where the column was, the sailor had disappeared. So I went on to the restroom, came back out. And when I came out, the guys who were running the investigation were at the table. And I said, man, you're not going to believe what I just saw. And as I described it, what I was seeing, one of the other guys said, man, I saw that about 30 minutes ago. I'm like, what? Guy just disappeared. The sailor just disappeared in front of my eyes.
So, what is your opinion of it? Residual or an active spirit?
I believe it was residual. It didn't seem to even notice that anyone was around. So that what made me think it was a residual haunting.
Very likely. They've got both types there, I understand.
Yes, sir.
That's that ship's got an amazing history. I did a full article in the magazine on it once, and
oh yeah,
how many people were killed, the heroics that saved the ship. It's pretty wild. And you say uncle was
Yes, sir.
right there in the midst of it.
Right in the middle of it.
Mm. That ship went through some hell there.
Yes, sir. It did. Yes, sir.
Well, tell me about your abilities. You were talking about it off camera before we started, and yours started as a small child.
Right, man. Okay, so in 1969, June of 1969 to be exact, my dad passed away.
I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah,
I appreciate
it's
that,
been
brother.
rough.
Yeah, yeah. Um, in September of 69, the same year, I turned 3 years old. In October of 69, I saw my dad. He
Mhm.
visited me. I don't remember what he said, but I do remember his smile. It was amazing. And I told my mom about this, and she's like, "Oh, you it's a good imagination, you saw your dad, blah blah blah." And stuff like that went on my entire life because at that point, after seeing my dad, it was like a doorway opened up for me, and I've been able to communicate with spirits ever since.
Mhm. And have you seen him any other time since then?
I've seen him. The most recent time I believe was like 2 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Has he ever talked to you again? Have you got messages from him?
No, the interesting thing is he won't talk to me. Now his mom, my grandmom, she was full blood Cherokee.
Okay.
And the studies I've done is that she was a very, very gifted lady.
Mhm.
And it's my understanding, my beliefs that I inherited my gifts from her.
Okay.
Now, she is always with me. She died when I was in the military, but she has been with me since her passing.
Mhm.
And I feel her around me all of the time. She's what if you ever heard the term spirit guide?
Sure. Sure.
She would be my spirit guide. And now she speaks to me all the time. She's always bringing spirits to me to help me, excuse me, for me to help them cross over.
Okay.
So that happens frequently.
And how can you do that? Is it just a matter of convincing them to step through, or?
Um, I'm not really sure how to describe it, Dan. I'm also a former preacher. I was a preacher for over 15 years, and I use that experience whenever I'm speaking to a spirit who seems to be trapped, and I pray for them, and then I offer them a way to go over. I ask them to follow the light, and 9 times out of 10, it works, and they cross. Now, like I said, there's that 1 out of 10 that maybe they had a tragic death, or maybe they did something really, really bad in life, and they were afraid to cross over. So when I get to those kind of spirits, I have to more or less convince them that everything is going to be okay, that where you're about to go is a much better place than where you're at, and you'll be able to see your loved ones who passed on before you, and you'll all join together. Excuse me. Just sip of this
No,
drink.
you're fine. You're fine. It's intriguing. How many spirits would you say, if you had a wild guess, that you've helped to cross over?
Oh, wow. Dude, I'm gonna say it's upwards of 100.
Okay. All right. And then your grandmother brings them to you.
Yes.
And
Interesting thing. The first
yeah.
time she did that, man, I was in an apartment by myself, and speaking to my grandma, like I said, I do it all the time. And she came to me one day and she said, "I have something for you to do." I said, "Okay, grandma, what is it?" And she introduced me to this lady, an older lady who had just passed away that day. And she said she's don't know how to go over and she needs help. Can you help her? So I said, "Sure." I did not realize at that time that I was opening Pandora's box, so to speak, because it's like every since then, man, when she finds one that desperately needs help, she brings them to me. Sometimes it's kind of scary, but most of the time it's not.
It's intriguing, and I'm going to ask some. I hope they're not insulting questions. I know they may even sound a little childish, but I
Uh,
don't have a power like that. I remember seeing all that Bruce Willis movie
yeah,
in which the little kid said, "Hey, I know where my dad's gun is. Come here." Turns around, the back of his head's gone.
right.
That scared me, and I'm a gunman. That scared me. Do you see things like that? Do they appear to you as they passed?
Sometimes they do. Most of the time, though, I see them as they were in life before their passing.
Okay. What is the basic, and I'm sure each one has their own reasons, but what would be the basic reason they can't cross over? Do they not see what's on the other side from their vantage point?
Most of the time, what I found, Dan, is whenever a spirit is trapped here, maybe they didn't have the upbringing to let them know that there is a better place to go to, or some of them have been tragically killed, maybe just in a head-on collision or something, and they didn't even realize what was happening. It was just they were alive one minute and then the next minute they won't. So they're in a state of confusion and they don't really know where to go, what to do, or how to act.
Okay. You are in a town or near a town. I mean, Fayetteville's an older town also, but
Yeah.
I know Wilmington's not far from there.
No.
And it's a very historical town with a long history. I
Yes.
think they've had at least two times they were under siege, once by the British, once by the Union. Um, do you find spirits? Does she ever bring you spirits who are 200 years old, who's been roaming around for 100 years?
Oh yeah. Yeah. She has some really old spirits from probably even before her time
Oh,
who have just wandered, and how she finds these spirits, man, I'm really not sure.
okay.
I don't know if they come to her or she goes to them.
I was going to ask, yeah, is she hunting for them or?
I'm not really sure, but the majority of the ones she brings me, though, and this is the weird thing,
Mhm.
the majority of the time when she brings spirits to me, it's ones that have died that day.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
There is so much, and I don't exactly know how to add. How do you see these people with your grandmother? Are they right there, like somebody
Well,
just walked through the door?
well, that's another interesting thing.
Okay.
Now, remember I told you the door was open when I was 3. And as I was growing up, whenever I would experience something, I would go to my parents to let them know what I was seeing. And I was always told it was my imagination.
Of course.
And back then, I could see spirits like I see you as a solid figure.
Okay.
Um, in my teens, I got so fed up with being told it was my imagination that I shut my gifts off.
Hmm.
And it wasn't until I was in mid 20s, early 30s that I decided I was going to, take back up what was rightfully mine, so to speak. And I reopened myself to the gifts. And now I don't see them as solid as I used to. The majority of the time, I see them as a mist. And I can tell if it's a good spirit because it's a light mist. A dark spirit is a dark mist.
When you say dark spirits, are you referring to people who were just evil in life, or are you
Oh
referring
yeah,
to demonic forces?
both, both. Now,
Okay.
when it's the soul of a person who was evil, it's not quite all the way black. But when it's a demonic spirit, it's pure black, the blackest black you could ever see.
Okay. You ghost hunted for some years. What
Yes,
is your opinion on the shadow people then?
I believe they exist. Matter of fact, I've seen them, a few of them
I've
myself.
seen I've seen many. That's why I was asking. Some people believe they're all demonic. Some people think they're ghosts. I call them watchers because a good
Yeah,
percentage of them will flee if they know you're seeing them.
it's interesting you said that, man, because in the apartment I lived in before I moved to where I'm at now, um, there I had a watcher who was in a monk's robe. you could not see his facial features, but you could tell he was a monk because of the way he was dressed. And he
Okay.
would always stand between the bathroom and my bedroom. And where I was sitting at in the living room, I had a perfect view.
Hmm.
And every time I would sit there, I would look out the corner and I would see him. And I spoke to him a few times. He never spoke back, but I was never afraid of him.
Okay.
He was more like a watcher, like you said, and a protector.
But he would stand there while you were talking to him.
Yeah.
The first ones I saw, they were gone, and it was like you ever see a snake put his tongue out? By the time you realize
Oh,
what
yeah.
happened, it's gone because it's so fast. That's the way they
Right.
moved. And I've seen several. Now, one I believe was demonic because he was pacing back and forth, and I don't know how to say it, mocking me.
Yeah.
But usually they just take off. Back then, it was called the Hat Men.
Yep.
And I always believed it's because up until President Kennedy, all men wore hats. So
Yeah.
most of the ghosts see themselves as they were, which means they wear hats.
Right.
But now the shadow people could be anything. I've seen shadow animals. I'm sure you have.
Oh, yes. I got a shadow cat that stays with us.
Now that I would say was probably a spirit of a cat. Would you?
Yeah. Yeah. Most definitely.
What about the ones you see that, and this happened to me just in October. I was down in Missouri, and we was in a big auditorium, and I seen this thing scuttle right across the floor, maybe a foot or so off. If I said it looked like a giant spider, but it was a shadow that I watched cross and disappear into the wall.
Right.
Is that what would you think that would be?
Being it's like a figure of a spider, and let me go back. I'm afraid of spiders.
Oh, okay.
I'm very afraid of spiders. So for me, when I see something like that invokes any kind of fear, that to me is a symbol of evil.
Okay. Well, okay, and again, I'm trying to calculate this out, and there's probably no real solid answer to it.
Really not.
It's like when people ask us, why do ghosts stay? Hey, each one has their own reasons.
Right.
But I'm not afraid of spiders. Spiders don't bother me at all. If it was
Okay.
trying to bring fear to me, it would have been a snake.
Oh.
Because I can't stand snakes. But spiders, I can sit there and play with them. I don't care.
No, not me.
And I don't know if anyone else saw that one. Many people during that meeting reported seeing shadow people, but I don't know if anyone saw that one in particular.
Wow.
Do you think it was doing that to scare me personally, or did I just happen to see it while it was messing with someone else?
I think that was probably the case. It was probably targeting someone else, and you caught a glimpse of it.
Okay. Well, I've always said, and I'm sure you'll probably agree, the more ghost hunting you do, the more you're in this field, the more you start seeing this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, so I will see things. One lady down in Tombstone, Arizona, told me it was my police training. I see movement. I see everything. I don't know, but I see shadow people a lot.
Yeah. When I first started seeing the shadow people, it would be like that little thing you see out of the corner of your eye.
Yeah.
And by the time I turn to look at it, it's gone. But like you said, the more you do what we do, the more visible they become to you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like I had a spirit one time in the same apartment I was just talking about earlier. It was a spirit that grandma actually did not bring to me.
Okay.
But I was standing in my kitchen and I heard a voice. I mean, not like we typically communicate with spirits. When I say typically, normally when I communicate with spirits, I don't hear them audibly.
Okay.
But occasionally I will. And this time, the spirit, I heard it in my right ear, said, "My name is Georgie." And I was like,
wow.
Okay. I said, so just hang on a minute and let me stop what I'm doing so we can communicate.
Mm-hmm.
So I found out he was a 34-year-old man named Georgie. He had died that day.
All right.
And he needed to be crossed. But one of the things he told me, it's going to sound kind of presumptuous of myself, but I'm just telling you what he told me. he told me that I have become a beacon in the spirit world. And that's why so many spirits come to me.
Okay.
So
one of the things I've noticed, and the longer I did the ghost hunting, the more it's happened, is spirits would come to us, even though they may not even be, for a basic word, haunting that particular area.
right.
And my thing's always been, when we're hunting the ghosts or looking for them, it's like a spotlight on the other side, and they're
Right.
attracted to come there to
Right.
get their message across. So is that what you're kind of going along with?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. I've been on investigations where when you go on, you already got in your mind what you want to achieve before you even enter into the area. So I go in with that mindset, and I can be in the middle of the investigation speaking to the spirit that I went there to speak to. And all of a sudden I hear these voices, hey, don't forget about us. We need help too. So that definitely happens.
Huh. Okay. Well, I it's just what you're talking about has happened with me so many times. Family comes over because they know their loved ones are doing this, and this is our
Right.
chance to communicate. And all of a sudden, I'm getting these answers on the dowsing rods that I don't understand, and someone else does. It's happened
Yeah.
so many times. I've even started a book on it called Family Spirits, just
Oh,
because
wow.
of so often it happens, and it's happening to you too.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
And it's not always a family. Sometimes it's somebody who just has something to get off their chest, I guess.
Yep. Very much so.
Where all do you ghost hunt at?
Mainly right now I am in North Carolina.
Mhm.
I'm in Eastern North Carolina, so I focus more in this area. I do go to Virginia. As a matter of fact, I got a big trip coming up in April to Virginia. I'm gonna spend a couple of nights there and check out some places.
Okay.
My my focus point right now, like I said, is on the eastern coastline, not just in North Carolina, but up and down.
Mhm. If you get up to North Carolina along the coast where Beaufort is,
Yes.
the ghost guy there is a good friend of mine. He's been on the show. He's incredible, and I bet he could kind of use your help there. Just to
Oh yeah.
what are you sensing? What are you feeling? What are you seeing?
Right. Right.
For the folks who have seen it, the Beaufort tales are amazing.
Wow. I'm
So
gonna go
yeah.
back and check that out because definitely interested in that.
Now, do you go talk to the folks who run the ghost tours or stuff like that? Some of them are
The
real
last
ghost hunters.
the last time I was in Wilmington, I don't know if you're familiar with Old Gallows Hill in
Mm.
Wilmington.
What I've heard of it. It's a part of the town that's got old houses on it now, right?
Yeah. This actually the plot that I'm talking about and the house um now belongs to a architecture company.
Okay.
But I was lucky enough when I went there that I caught one of the guys who works there and he let me do a tour of the building. But that place is very, very interesting to me, man, because on Old Gallows Hill, back way, way long ago, they would hang people there as their punishment for crime.
Hmm.
And instead of taking them off site to bury them, they had mass graves, and their majority of the bodies are still there.
Okay.
So it's a very interesting place to go to.
Yeah.
I love that area.
The folks down there I've interviewed several times. They've done the North Carolina, the battleship there, like 50 times or something.
Yeah,
And it's Port City Paranormal.
yeah,
And they, I think, mentioned Gallows Hill and having done a house or something on that area
yeah.
and
While I
how
was there
haunted.
doing that one, to answer your question, talking about did I talk to ghost tours
Hmm.
or guides? There was a lady who stopped by while I was on the outside, put my equipment out, and I thought she was there to run me off, but she ended up being the ones who ran the tours for around the Halloween season.
Okay.
and we had a long chat, man. And she actually does investigations as well. I cannot recall her name to save my life. So.
Yeah, if you can find that, let me know. I'd love to talk to her since I
Absolutely.
spent so much time there
Absolutely.
some
Man.
years ago. That's intriguing. And isn't it great when these folks come in and talk with you that way?
Man, it is, because I want to gather as much information about a place that I go to as I can.
Yeah.
So when I got someone there who's native to that area and is very, very versed in what's going on there,
Hmm.
it helps me out a lot, because I can now go into a place and say, okay, say if I want to talk to a guy named Charles, okay, she told me about Charles. I know how Charles died, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
So it helps me in the communication with the spirits.
Okay. That is cool. I love talking to you about places like that because I've been there and I know the
Oh, yeah,
area.
man. Oh, yeah.
Would you hold on for just a second and I'll be right back?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, friends, that is neat. And as you have heard me talk before, when the ghost hunting groups or the tour groups come and fill us in with their stories, it's the paranormal unity that I fight for. It's the kind of unity I want to see. No fighting over, is this my area or your area? Nobody owns a ghost. Just everyone work together. We get the answers, or the answers we want if they're able to be gotten, and move on. Help each other. The unity thing I'm all about. All right, stand by. I am going to bring up a quick commercial, and we'll be right back with Danny. All right, friends, you saw we've got a bunch of shows on this network now. It's growing by leaps and bounds. And we got some really top-notch guys like L.A. Marzulli, just amazing speakers. So you'll need to join up, become a member, and at the end of the show, I will tell you how. And you'll appreciate it if you do, because there's so much. But I want to get back to Danny because I love talking about the area of Wilmington, North Carolina.
Yeah, man.
And the whole area there from Virginia down to South Carolina is got so much historical stuff to it.
It really does.
Yeah, go ahead.
The last time I was in Wilmington, I don't know if you're familiar with the area. It's Old Smithfield Burying Ground.
No, I'm not.
That is the oldest cemetery in Wilmington.
Okay.
And it's actually on Southport.
Okay.
And it has the founding members of Southport buried there. It's not an extremely large cemetery, but it is so tranquil and so inviting. The spirits are really welcoming there. And I don't know how you do it, Dan, but before I go into a place, I always ask permission of the spirits before I enter.
Okay.
And when I go there, it's like, hey, welcome back. Your family here now. I've been there a couple of times.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
When I bought this patch of property here in the mountains, I checked out a topographical map. There's a cemetery on it. It was completely overgrown, covered. It was hard to get into.
Right.
And of course, when I came here to see it, and I asked the real estate guy about it, he thought this was a deal breaker. I said, oh, no. But I have had absolutely zero interactions with spirits here.
Oh,
Now, it was a family plot. It's mostly stones put up. A
yeah.
family member who used to own this told me that they were really good, hardworking people, but if they could buy a tombstone or a bottle of whiskey, there's where the rock went.
Oh, yeah.
So, but it's so quiet here. And do you find most cemeteries are fairly quiet?
I really do, man. I've been to a few where they are really noisy.
Okay,
As a matter of fact, I want to tell you the story right quick.
sure.
The very first cemetery I ever went to investigate, um, I was young and inexperienced.
Hmm.
I went to the cemetery and through my devices, the spirits kept coming through and telling me to leave and to get out.
Okay.
Well, I did what I recommended nobody else ever does. I said, I am not leaving until you scare me. I should not have done that.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah,
I've never done that one.
no. About 10 minutes later, I was walking through the cemetery with some friends of mine that were there with me. And I literally felt something walk from behind me through me. And I could feel both of their hands on my chest as they pushed. And I went rolling across the cemetery grounds.
Wow.
I blacked out for about a second, came right back up. And my youngest son was with me at the time. And he was 15 or 16. He had a couple of his friends with him.
Hmm.
And right after that happened to me, something with two hands pushed down on his shoulders to the point that he started crying in front of his friends. And I was like, I don't really know about this. I definitely got scared. But every time I go to the cemetery now, it's a very noisy. When I say noisy, I mean spirits are like chattering. I mean, it's like really loud. If anyone out there knows, if you're able to communicate and hear the spirits the way that I do, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. They get really loud.
I have heard spirits talking amongst themselves, but it has always been very quiet. And the first time I heard it was between two pool tables, and I was in the car I was in. And but I've never had it that loud. Of course, I'm not sensitive like you are.
Yeah.
What are they talking about?
Most of the time, it's like you said, they're talking amongst themselves about, this is what I do, blah, blah, blah. I'm here. I want to talk to him, but I'm scared to talk to him. Should I talk to him? So it's kind of like that.
And the idea that it pushed you that hard. I worked one time with John Zaffis in a place down in Arkansas.
Hmm.
Just sheer luck. We both happened to be there at the same time, and he was leading the group. But when he was asked about how much can a ghost lift, he said about a pound. After that, it's demonic.
Right.
But I personally don't agree with that. What do you think?
I don't agree with that either, man. And the reason I say that is the spirit that went through me and pushed me, it did it to let me know that that was his territory.
Right.
Did not mean any harm to me, but I said I wasn't going to leave till I was scared, and he wanted me out, so he scared me. There's been several incidents of stuff like that has happened. I've been pinned up against a wall at a murder-suicide house that I've been to. I actually felt this part of the bone on the spirit's arm rubbing solid against my chest. I was pinned against the wall, was not able to move.
And you think that was a human spirit?
Yeah, because I know the spirit, because I spoke to the spirit. But if it were not for my friend that was there with me, I don't know what would have happened, because it really got kind of scary there. But the guy, I call him a guy. Yeah, he's a dude that pinned me against the wall. He was the one that murdered his family and then committed suicide.
Okay. But apparently he's an incredibly strong spirit.
Yeah, he is. He's scratched me there. He's pinned me. He's pushed me, yelling in my ears. It's crazy, man.
A thought comes to mind that I want to ask your opinion of. Now, I've been pushed a little bit, scratched, got bite marks that I
Yeah.
didn't even feel.
Yeah.
But one of my good friends, one of the guys I ghost hunt with a lot, is also sensitive. He's one of the guys who his parents actually put him into a mental facility as a child because he was seeing these.
Yeah.
And apparently his mom and sister were too. They just wouldn't say anything. And dad put him away. Nobody wanted to argue.
Right.
He has been picked up, and this is a big man. I'm telling you, this guy's over 300 pounds.
Mhm.
He's been picked up and shoved into a wall. He's been grabbed and pulled into a closet. Is that the fact that you guys are sensitive make them stronger somehow?
I don't think it necessarily makes them stronger, but it, for the lack of a better word, allows them to show their abilities. Now, if I were to go into a place and I was not sensitive the way I was, and the reason I'm saying this is because I have taken other people with me in these investigations who are not sensitives, and they hear things, but they're not experiencing things the way I am, as far as being pushed, being scratched, and stuff like that. And it, just like you said, I believe it has something to do with us being so sensitive that they know that they can show us without us tucking tail and running, if that makes any sense.
Well, it makes more sense than anything else I can come up with because it's happened to you. It's happened to my friend Tim. It's happened to others.
Yeah.
And as you said that, and I was thinking about it, every one of those people it happens to are sensitive to this, and
Yeah.
I am not. I still require my rods and K2 meters. So,
Oh yeah. Well, don't get me wrong, man. I love my dowsing rods. If I had to go on an investigation, have only one piece of equipment, that would be my dowsing rods.
yes.
So that's my deal.
But again, I was going down the steps of an old mental asylum and kind of got pushed a little. Fortunately, I know to hold on to the handrail when I'm
Yeah.
there. And I've had been kicked, I've been scratched a little bit, no big deal. But it's the stuff that happens to you and him does not happen to folks like me.
Right.
So it's got to somehow be related to your sensitivity to that side, I guess.
I really believe it is, man, because honestly, you can take two different people, one like myself and one who does not have the gifts that I have, put them in the exact same situation at the exact same time, and you're going to experience two exactly different experiences. The one who is sensitive is going to understand and going to know what is going on, and therefore the spirits are aware that this person knows what's going on. They can see me, they can feel me, they can hear me. And the other person over there, the spirit says, well, that person's here, so while they're here, I'm just going to give them a little something, something.
Okay.
You know?
So you've been in Virginia mostly, or North Carolina, and some in Virginia.
Yes, sir.
What kind of places do you normally go to?
My favorite places to go to are abandoned homes. I like abandoned facilities like nursing homes, hospitals, prisons,
Okay.
asylums. I love those places. But for me, my most favorite places to go are cemeteries.
Okay. I don't go to many cemeteries because what I do, I write about, and
Right.
I don't like kids, people, teenagers seeing this, going there because they tend to do damage. So I don't ever talk about that.
Right.
And again, most of the cemeteries I've been to has been very quiet.
Yeah. Yeah. And I suppose, and this is, you said you don't have the same gifts that I do.
No.
So I would take that, to be factual on your part, because if you're not as sensitive as I am and others are out there, then you're probably not going to notice the same things that we're noticing, picking up on the same things we're picking up on.
No, some of the people, and I usually have a sensitive on the team when I'm going. One cemetery, he was hearing children speaking in German.
Yeah.
And it was a cemetery in a German area
right.
that had smallpox go through, and we was in a child's portion of it. So,
yeah.
And again, I'm glad I don't have that ability you guys have. I don't need to wake up and see one of the spirits there wanting help.
Oh, wow.
And that happens to you.
Yeah, yeah. One incident where that happened is a place I used to live probably about 6 or 7 years ago. Um, was formerly owned by slaves. I didn't know it when we moved there.
Mm-hmm.
Lived there probably about a couple of years, and then all of a sudden they start speaking to me, and I found out it was indeed a family of slaves who inherited that land from their slave master when they were set free.
Okay.
They're bound to that land. They just can't leave. They're stuck there. They can't cross. They can't do anything.
And why is that?
I'm really not sure. They never were specific about that. In my opinion, it's because that's where they found their freedom.
Mm-hmm.
That's where they found their quote unquote happiness. And that's where they want to be at. They don't want to leave.
Okay, it's different not wanting to leave and not being able to leave.
Well, I asked the mother if
Mhm.
she could follow me on an investigation, and she wasn't able to leave the property. So I don't know if it's because of the husband or
Mhm.
the land itself. Not sure.
And I've
But
heard that kind of thing happening, but not to that extent.
yeah, interesting story. When I was there, I had in my office. I had an air bed that I would crash on whenever I was working late, and I was on the air bed. Just laid down, man. I wasn't asleep. Hadn't even had my eyes closed, and I felt a weight of someone sitting on the bed with me. So I popped up immediately, turned the lights on. No one was there.
Mm-hmm.
This happened again. So same thing happened again. Popped the lights on, and this time I found out it was the mother of the slave mother who was sitting on the bed, and that's how I got introduced to the slave family.
Okay. So she was seeing you as not a threat.
Right, right. And the interesting thing, and I think this is the reason why I wasn't seen as a threat, is the land that they were slaves on.
Okay, Danny, you there?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, you're back. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No,
Okay,
that's-
the land that they were on when they were slaves, where the plantation was, so to speak.
Mhm.
After the slavery and all that stuff passed on, went away. My family bought the land,
Okay.
and it became a wood mill. They use it, making wood. If you're familiar, I don't know how familiar you are with Wayne County, North Carolina.
Not much.
There's a road in Wayne County in Mount Olive called Kelly Road, and that's where all that happened.
Okay. So she was coming to you because you have a relationship with the land just like they do.
Right, right. So there was no animosity, no anger, no hatred toward me at all. They just wanted to talk. They wanted to have someone that could hear them, that they could talk to. Because
Okay.
think about it, man. If you're a spirit, okay, and let's say you've been dead for 100 years, and no one has ever come by to listen to you, not
Mhm.
just to speak to you, but to listen to you, to actually hear you. Think how that would make a person on this side feel if you spent your whole life and no one could hear what you were trying to say, but you were talking.
Yeah.
So along comes someone all of a sudden who can hear you. You're like, oh my God, you can hear me. Thank the Lord. Excuse me, my phone is ringing. Can I get this right quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, sorry.
Before that little problem, um, that they were happy to finally be able to talk to someone.
Right, right. So when, like I said, if someone comes along who can hear them and not just speak to them, but actually hear them speak back to them,
Mhm.
it's like a kid with a toy at Christmas. You've been wanting this for so long, you finally got it, and now that you got it, you don't want to let it go. It's that kind of deal.
Okay. Let me throw this one out at you because you might know more. What do they see when they look at us? Are they seeing auras? Are they seeing shadows? Are they seeing our like we are?
I think they see us the way we are, man.
Okay.
I really do.
I have noticed over the years that spirits will talk with me because I'm law enforcement.
Right.
I've had criminals that just want to sit and confess, and ghosts. I mean, and it's like they can tell from somehow I have an authority or
Yeah.
had an authority about me.
Yeah.
And that's why I wondered if they saw something in the aura or if they actually see us as human.
I think they not only see us as we are, and this is going to sound kind of strange, but I think they kind of see through us into who we truly are.
Okay, that's
Does that
different.
make sense?
Go ahead. Yeah.
And the reason I say that is because, like I said, I was a former preacher. I preached for 15 years. I'm also an exorcist, by the way. I just want to let you know that.
Oh, yeah. We'll have to talk about that sometime. I've had like
Oh,
5
yeah.
or 6 on here.
Oh, yeah, man. So when I go into a place, I go in with authority. I don't go in like lording my authority over them,
Mm-hmm.
but they know when I walk into a place that, you know, this is who I am. This is what I do.
Okay.
You know? So it makes things a little easier for them, I think.
Well, and the sensitives I've worked with, even ones on other teams, say they knew immediately I was something. Some to feared,
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
trusted immediately, and I was always assuming somehow they saw in the aura. But
They may. Like I
Yeah.
said, that was just my opinion. You know.
We're all just guessing here.
Yeah.
So.
You know, none of us are professionals, so to speak. You know, we're still doing our practices.
A wise man I heard once say, if they call themselves an expert, they're out to get your money.
Exactly.
So, I don't like that terminology for me when I'm
No,
talking to people.
not at all.
Prisons you've done, jails.
Yes. Yes.
What have you seen there?
The last prison I went to, I encountered someone who was there because he committed murder. He killed his family. And remember, I told you earlier, when I see spirits, if they're a dark spirit, I see them as a dark mist.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way I saw this gentleman. I saw him. It's like a human form, but it's not like us. It's hard to explain.
Okay.
It's like the form of a human, but it's all like a swirling dark cloud inside of a frame, if that makes any sense. But this is how I saw this gentleman. And the interesting thing is, though, when I first saw him, I didn't see him as a dark figure. I saw him as a light gray. And as we continued in our conversation, and he told me why he was there and why he was on death row, because this particular prison had a death row.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I was at. And he was beginning to tell me what happened. And as he was telling me, his color changed to a darker color as he began to explain who he killed, how he killed them, and why he killed them. You know, so that to me was a very, I don't know, it's just something that stands out in my mind.
Was he getting more emotional and that's why it was doing it?
Yeah, I believe so.
Was he enjoying it?
Yes, he was.
That would worry me.
Yeah. And that just happened to be on an overnight that I did there alone. Because, like, you know, I'm a solo investigator. Like I told you prior to us coming on camera.
Right.
Is that I have been with several different teams. This is like the third channel that I've had out on YouTube for paranormal investigations.
Mm-hmm.
Even on Nocturnal Nation, I've had several people with me from time to time, but everyone seems to, I don't want to say get scared, but they kind of walk away from it a little bit.
Okay.
You know, so I decided, you know, if I have someone to go with me, that's cool. But if not, that's not going to prohibit me from going out and doing what I do.
And that's very unusual. Most of these guys preach not being alone.
Yeah.
And my wife and I, she'll walk off from me and go do something just because she thinks it's better off sometimes to be a one-on-one with them.
Yeah, I believe it is too, man. I've noticed whenever I'm with a group that I don't get as much detailed information as I would if I was by myself, because it's almost like the spirit feels like they have to entertain us.
That's kind of a polite homeowner's way, isn't it?
Yeah.
Especially in the South.
Yeah, for real. For
Mhm.
real, man.
What's the one piece of advice in the last couple minutes we have you would give to ghost hunters?
One thing that I've seen people do, and is just my opinion coming from my experiences, please, guys, if you're out there and you're doing investigations, don't provoke the spirits. You can have as much interaction as you want to with a spirit without trying to piss them off to get it.
Okay.
You would get a lot more information if you go in politely, with respect, and not provocation.
Okay. I have had, generally I'm against it, but I've dealt with spirits that you just had to stand up to them
Yep.
to,
Sometimes you have to.
yeah.
You got to put them into place.
But that is not something I start right out with.
No,
Treating
no,
them
no.
like humans, like you would treat anybody, just seems to work so much better.
Yeah, exactly, man. I tell people all the time that the spirits, they're just as much human as you and I are. They're just in another existence.
Mm-hmm. You've got some plans for next year. Can you share them real quick with us?
Oh yeah, man. So starting in January, I'm starting my 4th season on Nocturnal Nation. I have deemed this season the Witching Hour. During all of next year, I will be doing at least one a week where my investigation will either be at midnight or at 3 a.m. I want to keep the Witching Hour going, man. I want to keep it going.
Okay.
I got plans to do investigations in Virginia starting in April. I'm going to Virginia. I want to go to some different places. I want to expand a little bit,
Mhm.
go beyond where I've been going and check out some of these places that I've always wanted to go to, but just haven't been able to.
Okay. And people will be able to catch this on YouTube under
Nocturnal Nation. My videos drop every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time.
okay. What about your Facebook page under
Spirit
Eric
Crow.
Crow? Will
Yeah,
you be putting it up there where they can see it there too?
absolutely.
A link?
Every time I drop a video on YouTube, I always link it to my Facebook.
Okay. All right. Well, Danny Kelly, the founder of Nocturnal Nation. Hey, thanks for being a guest, man. You've been intriguing. You've kept it exciting
Absolutely.
and interesting, and
Absolutely, man. I
even without any
appreciate
videos. That's rare.
it. I do appreciate the time, man.
Well, thanks, and I hope you'll come back again sometime. And if you get some really great
Absolutely.
evidence you want to show off, give me a
Definitely.
call.
Hey, once I get this video edited out that I'm putting out in January, the first one, the one I told you about off camera,
Yeah.
it is going to be a midnight Ouija session that I did here in my office.
Mm-hmm.
Just a little spoiler for you. The planchette tries to move on its own.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
All right. So you're not afraid of Ouija boards?
Oh no, man, no.
Yeah, so many
Yeah.
people are. It's amazing.
It's like any other piece of equipment. It interacts how you intend it to be.
Mm,
If you
intent.
go in with intentions of being dark and evil, that's what's going to happen.
Yes. I've always said they're same as a handgun. When you know what you're doing, they're a great tool.
Exactly.
If you don't know what you're doing, it's an
Leave it alone.
accident looking for a place to happen. So,
Exactly.
all right. Well, Danny, thanks again, and I will talk to you here in just a few seconds.
All right, brother.
Take care now.
All right, man. You too.
All right, my friends, I do want to remind you one more time, real quickly. Joining up to the UNX network is as simple as going to unxnetwork.com. Drop down on the main screen just a little bit. There's a place you fill in your name and your email address. And for all of that, for that incredible amount of work, what do you get out of it? You get access to the X blog. And let me tell you guys, the X blog has been burning up lately between the ghosts of that building I was telling you about, we just got done with the X conference, and recently, I think in Arizona, there's been cube-shaped UFOs seen and photographed, which was happening a few months ago in other places. Now it's in Arizona. So whenever something like that happens, it breaks on our channel. Then, of course, you get the newsletter, which is monthly, and you get sent to your email box once a month the UnX magazine. And that is the magazine we put out. It's got some amazing writers on it. And if you check this out, this is 2 of them. Just for example, the one on the left, I had 2 articles in. One was actually on the battleship North Carolina. And I talked to the team, Port City Paranormal, who'd done it many times, but also I got the history, because to me, it's got to have the history. Also, I had an article on legends of Halloween. You guys probably remember when we were kids and they would tell us that cults were going to kidnap blonde-haired, blue-eyed girls and sacrifice them, or somebody was going to put drugs into the candy, razor blades into the fruit. I found the basis for all of those and some others and explained what it is. The other one, that one was about time travel. There was other stories in it. We cover cryptids, time travel, ghosts, UFOs, alien contact, the whole thing we talk about in these magazines. And you will get the digital issue free just for putting your name down. What are you waiting for? And I'm going to go on after that. I want to thank Danny again for coming on. I love talking to ghost hunters whose experience, because they are just so much more interesting. He had some great stories and we enjoyed that. So I'm going to take off. You guys stay cool, stay safe, stay warm, stay spooked. Good night.